I'm Rob Sagurton, the founder of the Fishing Chain. How did we become the Fishing Chain? Two guys reached out. They tried to launch this game on another chain. It just didn't work. They didn't have the capacity, the fees were too high, and there was no gasless experience. So it meant every cast they'd have to sign a transaction. And so Fogo was the perfect fit because we have tens of thousands of TPS capacity. We have Fogo Sessions, which we can subsidize the gas with a Paymaster. And then we have gasless transactions on the front end. So somebody can connect their wallet through Sessions, not have any Fogo token or Fogo gas, and play away and cast away. So it was the perfect fit. And I also trusted that this team had been through a couple iterations of games with different tokenomics, and they really felt like they nailed this one. And you can go on fogofishing.com and look at, I think it's learn more as the tab, and you can see the tokenomics. And before I was a founder and had a chain, I probably didn't know what I cared about and what I liked and what I didn't. And now it's very clear. So I used to think that meme coins were a good thing because they kind of battle tested chains and they were tokens that hardened the token economy. But now, especially since I've seen very few hold their value and so many people get wrecked, it's just not something that I'm interested in supporting. Not that I'm going to go full low risk DeFi. I do appreciate that, people will have different demands for different things for trading and speculating on different things. And capturing that demand is positive. But it's just personally, it's not super interesting, meme coins. But utility coins that have supply and demand dynamics and tokenomics are way more interesting. I mean, Bitcoin was the original store of value coin. And this team had a pretty good story for that. And I also always respected Orr, the proof of work on Solana, and I've spoken to Hard Hat Chad and heard his vision, which is way bigger than what it is today. And I always thought that that was very cool, because I think, sure, RWA is nice to trade, but if we have our own tokens that have their own economics attached to them, that just seems that, and they were born on a chain, whatever chain it is, that just seems much cooler. These are native assets in the true sense. And if you think about the successful chains, they all start with that. There's some kind of launch pad that fuels the whole rest of the economy. So in Solana, it's pump.fun, and these meme coins, they get launched, and then they get promoted to pools and borrow land and trading and perps and everything else. And I'd even say that a lot of hyperliquid perp success is from Solana native coins. So there's a whole economy around these coins that get spun up. And in the fishing game, that's also a token generation platform, even more than a game. When you're fishing and processing fish, you're generating a token and minting a token. And then those tokens, there's a burn function, and there's supply and demand difficulty. So it just does feel like Bitcoin. And there's very few people that were able to participate in Bitcoin. And so others that are coming out with these new kind of Bitcoin-like models where you can participate and potentially get in early and they're fair launched, that is appealing to me more than a meme coin that doesn't have utility or doesn't have those properties. And so that was one of the reasons that we were fine with them deploying first. Obviously, Fogo is an open blockchain, so anybody can deploy anything they want. But it was a good stress test in kind of a low stakes thing. So if we had deployed a perp sex with leverage and RPC one had to get restarted for a couple minutes and people were looking to trade perps, that's a real problem. I don't want to see anybody prevented from fishing, but in the early days of the fishing game, when we were having those issues, it was a bit less of a problem just to restart something and have the fishing game go down for a little while. So that was it. And then it shows off Fogo. So it's gone up to 2200 TPS, 40 millisecond block times. It's been reliable. Um, Nothing's gone down on the Fogo side and the validator side. So it's been the ultimate stress test, and people are having fun and enjoying it. I think there has to come a point, if it's going to be long-term sustainable, that people really understand the game and have a strategy. So I think there was a post that said, like, either don't play the game and don't put any money into it, put a minimum amount of money just to get and process some fish, and say you have some, and then you can look at it in a wallet, or really study the strategy and understand, like, when is the time to invest in the game and invest in Supercast, and when is the time to fish, and when is the time to not, or when is the time to look to trade it. And that doesn't seem to have happened yet, but I mean, there's signs of that. There's people starting to put out strategies, and so that would be cool if that happens. If there's a whole strategy and people are deciding when to fish and when to trade, because I can see more of those games popping up. Um, these game designers usually have lots of different creative ideas, and if one game does take off, and the next time around people understand it better and understand the value of getting in early, then it has a good chance of success. So that's why people are calling us the fishing chain. I would go back and say to those that are mocking it, you run this on your chain, because it's not so easy. So first of all, you have to have a fast chain. We're at 40 millisecond block time. You have to be able to handle that thousands of TPS. I hope this gets to tens of thousands. I'm waiting for that to happen. We haven't had enough fishermen in a low difficulty environment for that to happen yet, but I want to see what happens and how Fogo reacts. So, keep fishing. And then you have to have Gasless experience. You have to have Paymaster. And I don't know who else has that. But it's kind of cool because there is no other game like this on other chains because it's not possible. And yeah, it's a fishing game, but for me, it's like, what does that enable? Both on the capacity side and on the UX side. If we have had this breakthrough where a game like this only works on Fogo because we have the capacity, the speed, this UX, this subsidized Paymaster, then what else does that enable that just hasn't been able to exist on chain before? And so I'd say people that can see beyond a fishing game into that probably makes Fogo look a little more interesting. The other thing I'd say is I never liked the shotgun approach to apps and bragging about how many apps you have. And I love I hate when TPS on Fogo drops down below 1,000. I need to see activity. I don't know what that is. It's a personal thing. But I just want to see activity. We built this chain. I want to see it being used. And the cool part is that there's this TPS that runs 24/7. And I come from a TradFi exchange world where exchanges go down on the weekends and used to go down at nights, not all of them anymore. And so to see a 24/7 system operating and never going down for maintenance, that was the other thing. I remember these systems had maintenance every day at 6:30, and that was your excuse to go have a beer. So yeah, to see these things never go down for maintenance or any other reason and operate 24/7 and then still get upgraded is really cool. Really cool. So what else can I say about the fishing game? So yeah, it's promising, but it is still a game, And I think the other part of this is Valiant launched as well, and they're trading the native token. And they've already had a second version where they've now have a terminal. So you can go on and trade the token, you can deposit. So that's the other cool part. And that goes back to these launch pads or these token generation games or launch pads, whatever, sparking like a whole different trading economy. Like you could imagine a borrow lend around this and leverage trading at some point where it gets enough interest and liquidity. So that's why we are the fishing chain. And I have no shame being called the fishing chain given the unique things that we're able to do on Fogo. So that's my explanation. And yeah, enjoy the fishing. Take care.